The data suggests that more people, in a growing and grossly devastating number, are dissatisfied with what they do every day, which is their job. People with faith centers have more sense of meaning and feel more connected to their lives. So that data is there. But the data around the jobs and the satisfaction like in work, it's not there. You get into a career, you ride the promotion ladder until you get to the top. And as long as you are progressing, you never really stop to consider whether or not you are on, air quotes, the right path. If what you're doing every day is not deeply connecting you to a sense of purpose and being and identity, it's not enough to stay connected to it just for the sake of collecting a paycheck. Disconnected people don't feel a need to be drastically honest because that would be helping the organization that they're already disconnected from. So that's flaw number one. Flaw number two is the smarter the human, which I know all of you that are here, my data says that you are high achieving people that are wildly intelligent and wildly capable in advancing in your careers for 10, 15, 20 years. Our generation in particular has not been equipped with the ability to challenge stuff. It's like lock in, get promoted, retire, then consider what you want to do, for life. Challenging that has a process, or it could have a process. And until you know the process, it's really hard to do, even in a therapeutic relationship, even in a, coaching relationship, because the reality is the truth of you is inside of you and you alone. There's no other way for that to exist. The individual, supported by a society where their needs are met, can then have the opportunity to consider what it looks like for them to live their best version of life. It is a self-directed vision of happiness. That is called a plan. Most people identify happiness as feeling, I feel happy. No, happiness is a plan. It is a self-directed, guided process toward happiness. No one else can tell you, and this brings me back to the Aristotle point, no one else can tell you what that happiness or human flourishing, eudaimonia, looks like. If you're honest, you've probably been living your life the same way for a very long time, like 10, 15, 20 years, somewhere in there. And if that is you, I want you to pull up a chair. Let's have a minute and just kind of talk about that. It's easy to get on autopilot. Autopilot is the most preferred version of our society, honestly. Get to a point and ride it out until the wheels fall off, basically. And that looks like, you get into a career, you ride the promotion ladder until you get to the top. And as long as you are progressing, you never really stop to consider whether or not you are on, air quotes, the right path. It's not really a question because the right path in our society is dictated by the promotion. So as long as you're getting promoted, you're on the right path and you never stop to consider it. One of the things that I think about a lot is that our generation in particular, I'm 43 years old, our generation in particular has not been equipped with the ability to challenge stuff. It's like lock in, get promoted, retire, then consider what you want to do, for life. And that narrative, it's super pervasive. It's so common, but there's a lot of things that I look at in the data that I study behind the work that I do as a corporate culture consultant and just, HR trainer and human advocate is really how I look at myself. But there's a lot of data. The data suggests that more people, in a growing and grossly devastating number, are dissatisfied with what they do every day, which is their job. So, 5 out of 7 days of the week, people are going to work and they're disengaged and they don't love it, which by and large means that they do not love their lives because they're spending so much time with and on that work. Most people are reporting, by virtue of that metric alone, not to love their lives, which is why, particularly in American culture, we see things like anxiety and depression and all those things are pervasive because there's a rotting at the core of the work center. I'm saying that to say, if it were working, that number would not be the number. If the trajectory kind of mentality was enough, then those numbers would not be so staggeringly difficult to ingest. But as it is, they exist. That is what the data is telling us. And so then my supposition is that we're doing it wrong. We're just doing it wrong. And so then, the stop to challenge part of this is the most necessary part, but we haven't been trained on how to challenge it. For the sake of challenging it out in the ether or by ourselves or, even with a therapist, I hear people say things about what their therapists have told them and their therapists are wrong all the time. And I don't mean wrong like it's not clinically appropriate, the approach, but it's wrong for them. And when you have somebody that's walking with you and they're not inside of you to know your own intuitive hits, or they discount your intuitive hits because they're not documented data points or something, then it's difficult to manage that relationship. And I'm all for therapy. So let me just be clear about that. I'm all for therapy, but I'm all for you being with the right therapist for you. And that might not be, if you're a highly intuitive human, you might not be able to be with every single therapist because you'll know things that are true for you that might be against, it might not be clinically, the thing. So I'm saying all that to get to this. Challenging stuff challenging your life, if you've been on the same trajectory for 10, 15, 20 years, challenging that has a process, or it could have a process. And until you know the process, it's really hard to do, even in a therapeutic relationship, even in a, coaching relationship, because the reality is the truth of you is inside of you and you alone. There's no other way for that to exist. I'm God's kid, so I, fully believe that God resides inside of you. And so if God is the source of all wisdom, all truth, and all light, then you are holding that wisdom, truth, and light inside of you. There's no other way for you to know the truth, save but on the inside of here. It might take some excavating and some uncovering to get there, but the process by which for you to challenge it has to be a self-directed process of challenge. Now, it can be expertly guided for you to challenge, but you have to do the challenging. Nobody can come to you and say, hey, you should bop thing stuff. Now, I've met some prophets in life, right? So I know some people that would come to say a thing, but they're usually coming as confirmation to a thing, something you already kind of know for yourself. And then the prophet comes along and is like, hey, thank you for that, because now I have a degree of certainty that I didn't have before you spoke. So completely necessary thing to have happened. But my point in bringing all that, to the table is just, you can't rely on somebody else to tell you what is best for you. Only you can do that. So now let me take this to philosophy as well, because, the spiritual part may or may not hit for all of you. But philosophically, even Aristotle, right, as he developed the language for Nicomachean ethics, it is based on eudaimonia. And don't get me for saying it wrong, but it is based on the sense of human flourishing. What that is, the principle is that the individual, supported by a society where their needs are met, can then have the opportunity to consider what it looks like for them to live their best version of life. It is a self-directed vision of happiness. That is called a plan. Well, let me redefine it for you. I think of happiness as a plan. Most people identify happiness as a feeling. I feel happy. No, happiness is a plan. It is a self-directed, guided process toward happiness. No one else can tell you, and this brings me back to the Aristotle point, no one else can tell you what that happiness or human flourishing, eudaimonia, looks like. That is the whole basis and principle of Nicomachean ethics, that each person deserves to live in a world and society where they are able to consider that their idea of human flourishing. Right now, we don't live in that world. Right now, we live in a world of survival. Everybody's trying to figure out how to survive in this world. And it's not because you don't make enough money. It's not because, the bills are too high, the groceries are too expensive. Those things are all real and true, but that's not what's at the root. What's at the root is the narrative that I mentioned in the beginning, this whole progression ladder that we just think is the gold standard of existence. But again, the data contradicts that. Because if that were true and that is what people are doing, then the numbers wouldn't look the way that they look. That's just it. And so then there's all these companies, there's all these solutions, there's all this stuff in the middle that says, oh yeah, we help people show up in their lives better. We come in and we do these trainings and we do this stuff at these jobs and all that. Yes. But the data says that what we are currently doing, even at mass, is not working for work. It's not working for work. The data shows drastically that people with faith centers have more sense of meaning and feel more connected to their lives. That data is there. But the data around the jobs and the satisfaction in work, it's not there. So the current corporations that are serving corporations in a way that is supposed to serve the population of people that are working at those corporations in the way of training and personal development, all that stuff, it ain't working. And that's just the data we know about. Generally, I think the data is flawed because that would require people to be completely honest all the time. Most of these assessments are anonymous, so that's helpful. But even then, disconnected people don't feel a need to be drastically honest because that would be helping the organization that they're already disconnected from. So that's flaw number one. Flaw number two is the smarter the human, which I know all of you that are here, my data says that you are high achieving people that are wildly intelligent and wildly capable in advancing in your careers for 10, 15, 20 years. Y'all so smart that you're not going to say the thing in the way that would raise the flag. You're going to say the thing in the way that keeps you out of it because you don't want to be in it. I'm here to do my job. That's it. And then I'm going to roll out. That's all there is, right? So I think there's flaws in the data because it's not giving people enough opportunity to be completely honest. This is in fact why my company Steam Trunk exists, to uproot some of that and to create a space where employees can be honest, where people that are working for companies can be honest in a very real way and be provided the opportunity to exit comfortably, just comfortably. So imagine that you go into your job one day and some outside consultant, me, comes in and says, hey, listen, we have this signed document that says you will not be punished or retaliated upon for being honest in this space. Be honest, and you can say all the things. And also, first and foremost, if you would like to quit right now, your company has already prepaid for you to have 12 weeks of coaching around what it is you need to do next as far as like being in alignment with your authentic created reason for being. We're going to coach you into that. Your company's already paid for it. Just walk over there to the back and now you can 12 weeks of coaching paid for. Would you do that? Okay, so that's, really neither here nor there. The big thing is challenging the trajectory, challenging the thing where you are looking at just going up the ladder of promotion as like the standard of success when the reality is that is not working. All of this I'm throwing out there to say it ain't working. And if it's not working for most people, it's probably not working for you. Now, the question is, will you allow yourself to be honest enough to acknowledge that it's not working for you personally and not just for the majority of people that you may or may not know personally? But are you honest enough to be able to say it's not working for me either? I am not living in my most optimal version of this life. I am just looking for my next promotion. I'm looking for my pay bump. I'm looking for my vacation. I'm trying to accrue these vacation days so I can take these 3 weeks off. And I, want to get in the cushiest office possible and just kind of be until I retire. And I'm planning for that now. Also, I always have my job alerts on. Is that your best version of life? So if you're honest enough to be able to say that, there's a couple things I just want to toss out for you. And then I want to offer you a tool that might be helpful for you as you are trying to navigate this truth. A couple things I want to throw out. Thing number one, there is an opportunity. Every day you have an opportunity to be more honest with yourself, to be honest with the people around you, and to be honest with your corporation, your job, the place where you are collecting your paycheck from. Sometimes the change isn't going to happen because we think it should. It happens when enough people say that it needs to. So you can start that. You can start that by saying, listen, we need better training here because the training that we're getting isn't working, but we need better training. The training that we need is about us. How do we get in touch with who we were designed to be? And can you bring somebody in here to show us how to do that? Because that would be most helpful. The opportunity is in for you to be like, even right now, as we're talking about this, just to challenge your thought process around what it is that you're doing at your job every day. Are you doing something that serves the masses, or are you really just thinking about paying these bills? Are you really just thinking about this next promotion? Are you really thinking about just flying under the radar in a way that keeps you off the radar of the big wigs so that they don't come looking for you when it's time for layoffs? That's survival mode. You deserve better than survival mode. You're too smart to just be on survival mode. There's so many other things that you could be doing with your life. So there's an opportunity for that honesty to come through to yourself, to the people around you as you are, talking to your friends and family, and just tell them honestly, like, hey, listen, I am not really living my best life by just tracking these promotions. Yes, I know I'm the great family hope here where I'm doing better than everybody else. I got it. But also it's not enough. And I unapologetically am saying to you all to expect me to make some changes because I need more than this. I'm meant for more than this. There is more for me than this. The other thing I want to say to you is that the cost to your identity is too great for you to continue to just look at promotion as the only metric for which you can measure your success. If what you're doing every day is not deeply connecting you to a sense of purpose and being and identity, then it's not enough to stay connected to it just for the sake of collecting a paycheck. You have so much more to offer. And this autopilot that we find ourselves on a lot in this society it needs to be challenged for that reason, because too many people are dying with their potential still in them to completely change the world and rewrite history and to change the trajectory that we are going on in our humanity because of paychecks and promotions. It's time. So if you are feeling disconnected from your identity, then this is really a time for you to start to challenge some of this stuff so that you are not just going along to get along. And I think the other thing is like posterity, right? And your posture. So it's two things, posterity and posture. So it's one thing to look at what has been and maybe what you think you could do, but there's a legacy that you get to leave. What will you leave? And are you able to leave that by just tracking your promotion structure? Are you able to leave the type of impact and legacy that you want to leave? And then there's a lot of potential. You have potential to live more fully, more whole. You have such potential. And unfortunately, when we talk about potential, a lot of times we neglect the energy implication. Potential energy is static. It sits still. It remains unrealized. And that's what I was saying before, too many people die with potential in them. It remains unrealized. What we want is for you to challenge enough of your life life that your potential energy turns to kinetic energy, and you start to, in fact, do the things that you were created to do. So I created a guide, 11-day alignment reset challenge. It takes 11 days to go through, but it allows you to challenge these areas of your life in a guided way that won't leave you out there on your own, that asks pointed questions. It comes with some emails as well. It's $24. You can get it on my website at courses.theshawnak.com. That is the guide that I put together for you to ask yourself these questions in a good way that is not going to leave you out there on your own, but it is the self-directed truth of who you actually are and what is serving you and what is no longer serving you in this life that you have created and cultivated. And I don't want you to be afraid of the answers. The answers are there to support you because the truth is inside of you. The wisdom, the truth, the guidance, everything that you need is inside of you. Sometimes you just need like a curated way to get that truth out and to give yourself language to explain it to your friends and family, to talk to your people at your job about what it is that you are discovering and uncovering about yourself. So if you are ready to take that challenge, go to courses.theshawnak.com. The link will be below this video, and just download the 11-day alignment reset challenge. It is 100% for you, and it is for your situation right now. If you are navigating a season where you are looking for a change, this is it. This is the space where you can find it and get exactly what you need to become exactly who you were always intended to be. I'll see you in the next video.